So Mark's going to be running around asking questions, so if you've got questions, raise your hand. Mark will come see you with a mic, and you can fire away. You ready, guys? Let's get you some mics. Nick, got a question for you, mate. Nick, got a question for you.
Yeah.
I really love the designs for the Dinobots and Maximum Dinobots. I just want to know how much work you put into getting them accurate to actual dinosaurs.
Alright, are you G-Wolf too?
Yeah, it is.
It's brilliant. Alright. Anyway, mate. How much work? I did a little bit. I kind of pulled out some dinosaur anatomy reference books. Mainly because when Simon asked for them to be created in Spotlight Shockwave, he asked them to be like actual dinosaurs instead of Transformer G1 dinosaurs. So they had to like look like real dinosaurs. So I had to do a lot of research then. So that kind of helped me get an idea of like the physiology and the bone structure. I tried to kind of keep them looking that way rather than the kind of the cartoony, kind of chunky toy versions and stuff, which look really cool and are kind of like more fun to draw in some ways. But it was kind of harder to make sense of like the sort of the segmented like necks. It's hard to sort of make them kind of transform into robots or whatever, but yeah, I did a little bit of homework, is the short answer. Yeah. No Red Rocket on Grimlock, no.
You actually got dinosaurs in Ireland, though, don't you?
Yeah, we actually still have them in Ireland, yeah. What an absolute racist.
I love the Irish.
I don't know, I was going to sort of like play the Welsh card, but you know, there's 5 of you, you know, so it's...
I'm from Welsh. Okay. Any questions for the panel? Anyone? Here we go.
What was all your all's first publication?
Say again.
English. What was your first publication? Each one of you.
My first thing I ever had published, Transformers-wise, was a cover for Titan, which was like Starscream jumping through a great big oil refinery. And my first panel work was, I can't remember if it was either the movie adaptation or it was a Titan issue. So, but I was just so happy to do the cover. I did Optimus Prime cover as well, which came next. So after that, I was just happy to do it.
My first one was Spotlight Shockwave. That's the answer to the question. There you go. Hang on. Oh. I did a variant cover for issue 1 of Infiltration with Starscream, and that was like a big deal because I got to do issue 1 and it's, you know, the relaunch of IDW's Transformers and all that sort of stuff. So that was kind of cool, so I can sort of brag that I was there on day 1.
First interior stuff was Spotlight Hot Rods with and then I think, what Davies been with you? Because time going Davies was with you on issue 2, and cover-wise it was Best of Dinobots issue 4, the Sludge one. Yeah, that was your one. Yeah, we love it.
I'm saying this. Okay, how do I follow Liam there?
Not in front.
Okay, my first published stuff was actually Transformers. It was a poster and 2 fact files for Transformers Armada, which I did for every issue up until issue 9, and that was my first published comic strip work, which was written by Simon Furman, and I can remember being very, very proud. Thank you very much.
This is going to be disappointing now because it's nothing to do with Transformers, but I flattered unofficially worked with Jason on Spider-Man for a while, but my first, and you, my first official credit was on Action Man Atom, which probably no one here's ever heard of, but it was cool, it was good fun. It was drawn by Jack Lawrence, it was awesome, while it lasted. Well, yeah, that was written by Simon Furman. Okay.
My first printed work was, if I recall correctly, Turtles Fast Forward, and I was the inker and colorist on the title. That was written by Simon Furman and pencils were by John McCrea. It was either that or a Spider-Man title where I coloured John McCrea's work, but I don't remember.
My first coloured work was Armada, but it got cancelled before it actually got published. It was a bit gutty. It was rubbish. It wasn't my fault. So I got transferred over to Spectacular Spider-Man on Uni, which was nice. So I kind of started off quite high up the ladder, which is quite cool. Anyway, it is done. Forever going. No, first Transformers strip work was the Titan UK stuff, and first drawn Transformers work was also covers for Titan UK stuff, and next step was probably editor next year.
The first published stuff I have done was a really bad optician's advert for an American newspaper called the Collinsville News Examiner. So it doesn't really count, but the first Transformers stuff was some fill-in colour pages for Devastation issue 5 on UJC's artwork. Immediately after that, I also coloured Stas' work on Scorpion's theme on the Transformers UK comic. So that one was coloured last, came out before Devastation, so it could be, either one of those could have been the first or second to be published. That's me.
This is a one for both artists and colourists. For the artists, Transformers come in all different shapes and sizes. Who do you have the most trouble drawing? And for the colourist, is there any artist that you work with who you have trouble sort of matching their style with your colouring style?
The hardest character I find is the movie Megatron. There's just so many bits to it, and you kind of, I think because I grew up with the G1 stuff, you kind of want your Transformers to look quite blocky and quite mechanical, and when you draw Megatron, it's really hard to kind of draw him looking like that, and really the easiest way to draw him is more as you would a human and stick to all the anatomy. So, and he's also just, his feet they don't make sense at the bottom. They literally, from the knee down, it's just kind of a mess of metal, and all the ref that you have, his feet always look different. So yeah, I think that's probably the hardest.
Yeah, I'd almost say the same thing. I did the Megatron issue of the Titan movie series, and yeah, that guy's a flippin' nightmare to draw. As far as the G1 stuff, with IW, I really like drawing him. I like drawing him. Scorponok is kind of tricky. I don't know why, I just find his head gets a bit kind of messy and confused. But he's a cool looking guy, so you know, it's always worth the effort in the end.
Okay, I've got to agree with these guys here. I found movie Megatron to be an absolute bugger to draw. I read online some not very favourable comments about my version, saying it looked rather like an 80s X-Men villain. And looking back at it kind of did. You know, I will freely admit that. But the movie Transformers were very difficult to draw.
You think you guys don't like Michael Bay? Jeez.
And I've got to say as well, when I did the brief run for IDW on the Beast Wars source book, I found some of the references we were given were zilch, and I basically had to use like toy pictures about that big. So basically it came to a point where I had to make my own interpretations of the characters. Fortunately, they went down pretty well. Someone described them as what if Marvel were drawing Beast Wars in the 60s. So I was chuffed with that, but yeah, they're the most difficult characters I find.
That question doesn't really apply to a colourist, does it? Oh, right. No one's ever really asked me to emulate any kind of colouring style, which is probably a good thing. Whose artwork? Whose artwork?
Yeah, it was sort of, as a colourist, when you're given a page, is there any specific artist whose artistic style sort of contradicts how you approach colouring and things, so you have a hard time sort of adapting to that artist's style?
To be totally honest, I think I just do with whatever. I don't think anybody ever really stipulates with colouring to make it look like, not the work I've had to work on anyway. And with the Transformers stuff, it's only ever been copying how the cartoon looks. So, so yeah, it's cool. Anything's easy, really. Well, not easy, but I'm going to pass on to someone who actually knows what they're saying.
I won't pretend to know what I'm saying. I got to do the How to Draw guide for Titan, which ran for about 10 issues, spaced over the run of the 25-issue run. Essentially, the idea was to simplify the designs for kids to be able to draw. Now, it's not that easy to simplify something that's incredibly complicated. So I stripped it back to try and make it, like John was saying, about more human anatomy, where all the joints work. And then to give it a slight G1-ness, because they were blocking solid and had something to them. And the trickiest one I found was, I think it's Bone Crusher, the one that glides, and he was a bloody nightmare. So probably Bone Crusher. Thank you very much.
I haven't drawn a heck of a lot of TF movie stuff, but like Lee, you see the TF movie designs and you look at Gen 1, you look back, and you just blend them into some kind of ideal. Because some of the newer movie designs I didn't particularly like what they do with the RC characters. I didn't like those. I actually prefer the toys that came out for the first movie. You see the RC toys? I thought that was a much better design. But colour-wise, I've coloured quite a few of these guys. I've coloured John's work, Nick's work, Simon's work, Lee's work, and probably the hardest person to colour is probably my own. See how I got out of that then? Because I like finish an arm of a character or something, and I'm done with it. I've rendered it, and I'm thinking, no, I'm going to change that, and I move bits back and forth, and you know, because it's my own line work, I can change things, and I shouldn't. Just leave it alone. At least when I'm colouring these guys' work, you know, it's there, I can't mess with it, and it's static. So, yeah, I'm my own worst enemy.
From a colorist point of view, yeah, the movie robots, whenever any comic with a movie robot is an absolute nightmare, because they, I think as John said, they change from panel to panel. So any kind of consistency with colour just goes out the window straight away. You just got to kind of get something that looks like, oh, that could be the same as the panel before it and the panel before it. And you just got to hope that nobody actually looks too closely and just hope that they don't spot that it's not really the same throughout. I know, it's opposite to the trade here. But, yeah. You know, but in terms of actual artists who are harder to colour than others, again, it's any kind of colour jobs generally, it's quite the same from artist to artist. All that really differs is the amount of detail you have to work with. So somebody like Alex Mill will do incredible amount of detail, and that takes a lot longer to colour because you get it all just right. Whereas somebody like Boo, for instance, will not have much detail there at all, so you can just kind of do a lot quicker work with that. So it kind of varies really. So a nice non-committal answer for you there. Yeah, sorry.
I'm fine with it. The biggest job of the Colourist is working with an artist for the first time. I mean, Nick have been working one off together for years, and I get a bit of eagle eye, and I know Harry, what he does, I know his tricks, I know what works and what doesn't. When you get a new artist to work with, maybe for the first day or so, you are just experimenting with style, trying to think something that complements that lineup the best. And that's, yeah, the big problem with it.
If you could make a comic of any of the cartoons of like G1 or Beast Wars, which one would you do?
I think having grown up with G1 stuff, I'd love to do like a G1 comic that was, I'd like to do a comic that was still set in the 80s and almost do like a Goonies or an 80s movie tale with the original 80s Transformers. That would be really, really cool. So yeah, so that basically. Or failing that, I'd love to do something with, we were talking about it earlier, weren't we, like Cut and Blur and Hot Rod, the original Hot Rod. But again, it's because when I was younger, that's what I grew up. And Target 2006 was probably my most favourite Transformers comic ever, so I'd probably do something that was almost set in that universe again.
Yeah, I like the idea of doing a Beast Wars comic myself, but I'd like to kind of take the time to redesign the characters as like two-dimensional characters, because you know they're like CG models and they look great when they're animated by like mainframe. But I kind of almost like to do, you know, the way like Transformers animated is they're taking the G1 style and kind of turned it like really kind of funky and kind of stylized it. And I'd really like to see someone take a shot at doing a Beast Wars comic like that. I think that'd be great. So that kind of appeals to me. But as John said, I mean, I like the direction I thought you were going in because I'm a company man and I have to say that. But no, I do. But at the same time, there's a big appeal in like maybe doing a story where Ultra Magnus fights Galvatron in that G1 style, you know, that good old-fashioned fun way. So yeah, two answers.
Me, I'd probably like to do something G1, but something like film noir style or something, like crime stories. Just something experimental with. I mean, you got the war, you've got what's going on, but something that's taking characters, taking a brand, taking a situation, but a new spin on it, a new scenario. See like what goes behind the trenches, what the same characters are more just experimenting.
Well, I don't know if this answers your question directly, but one, I would love to draw a Transformers Marvel crossover, done, you know, done right, basically. No offense to any that have come before. No. No. I thought they picked the wrong characters. You know, I think if you're going to have a Marvel Transformers crossover, pick the classic Avengers or the Fantastic Four, who have got some, you know, Reed Richards and the scientific knowledge and stuff like that. I would love to draw classic G1, obviously, and I'd love to draw the stuff that was in like the 2006 era, specifically like the Death's Head team-ups. That's something I would love to have worked on, and if ever it happens again, I hope they knock on my door.
This is going to sound a bit like a cop-out, because it's quite similar to what Nick Roche said, but you all know that I love the TFA stuff particularly. I think Beast Wars done in the TFA style would be something I would love to work on, definitely. It would be just that really stylized 2D, angular kind of sharp look. I think it would be great fun.
I got one. There's a couple of things I'd probably like to work on, and just to have a personal view, the TFA was cut short way too quick. They come up with brilliant Kirby-esque designs, curves, lines, it was really funky, and they just kind of, with Transformers, they start something and then they end it, and it's all about new generation, so there's nothing solid like the G1 stuff that carried on. And I think TFA could have been done really well if they'd have given it the legs. And a secondary one would be to literally take the first 4 issues of the original series and ignore everything that happened afterwards and do a new issue 5 straight from there when Shockwave comes in, and do it to today's standards, but make it kick-ass, where it's properly about government, it's about world control, and just almost movie-like from that point. That's personally what I'd like to do. Guys?
Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, I'd love to work on a G1. Not being a big fan of Beast Wars, Beast Machines. Not because I didn't like it, it's just because I've never watched it. But I do like different takes on the G1, like Liam was saying. The kind of the G.I. Joe World War II comic that come out, and the Hearts of Steel and things like that, whereby, you know, we've got like established characters but in a different environment, a different setting and different situations to overcome. That's what kind of appeals, I think.
I think I'd quite like to do, I'd like to work on a much sort of more adult version of Armada, where you've got the Autobots and Decepticons using the mini-cons as a
and no kids.
Yeah, absolutely. But like, using it as a proper power struggle, so you kind of have, you know, the mini-cons being all, you know, really kind of repressed and subjugated and stuff, and it could really go quite dark. And I don't know what that says about me, but I think that'd be a really interesting story to see this kind of big power struggle, and maybe make it a bit less gaudy and, you know, a bit less gimmicky. But I think that would work really well as a really neat comic. So. Yeah. Oh, and also G1. Everyone else knows G1 as well.
Can I just say as well, I mean, not for me to personally draw, but I think some of the guys, you know, Lee and Kat, would be more certainly suited to this. I would like to see G1, but drawn in the animated style. I think that would, you know, not redesigning the characters, just drawing them in the animated style. I'd love to see that, you know, animated Ravage, you know, Ravage and all that drawn in that style. I'd love it.
It'd be adorable, wouldn't it?
What's that?
And easy to colour.
It'd be adorable.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I've just got a question down here.
This one's just for Nick, really.
Do it in the voice. Do it in the voice.
Do what?
In the voice.
Do the voice!
Yes.
I think maybe a lot of people are wondering about this one is, tell us about Wreckers, Nick.
What do you want to know?
Just free form, come
on. Wreckers. It's out in 2010. I think it's going to be January. I hope it's February, but I think it's going to be January. It's going to tick a lot of boxes. People like Japanese characters who haven't like appeared in the US series ever. They're going to see a few of them. They're going to see a lot of kind of European toy characters who've never appeared in any sort of media really. You're going to see a lot of them. There's a lot of Transformers UK characters who were never toys as well. Going to see a few of them. Is there a story? Who knows? But is there a lot of characters? Yes, there is. And yeah, I mean, does everyone, the team of the Wreckers, as it stands now, is Springer, Perceptor, and Cup, because Perceptor, as we all know, is a sniper now, so that makes him Wrecker fodder. And that means, the original Wreckers, or the Wreckers as IDW had established them were like Roadbuster, World, the Jumpstarters, the other two Shuttle Changers. And they're not in it, they're not dead and they're not like written out, they're just, there's been a parting of the ways. And so this new team of Wreckers have been kind of put together. Springer's not too sure about them, and you know, he kind of wishes his mates were there, and he's sort of sick of seeing guys under his command sort of die horribly, and so he's kind of feeling his age a little bit there. And the new Wreckers are Pyro, who came out in like 1992 or 93. Yeah, Pyro, yeah, here for Pyro. Rotor Storm. Yeah, a round of applause for a toy released in 1992 there, brilliant. And let's see if we can do one more. Iron Fist. Yeah! And lastly, Guzzle. So yeah, who's that? Yeah, I love Guzzle as well, so he's going to be fun.
Where's Sizzle?
Sizzle is on Perceptor's old spaceship still. That's where he keeps him. With all the other cold flame sparking toys, you know, so it's like, yeah. He's still boxed, yeah. Perceptor kept him mint, yeah. He's gonna flog him for a tiny profit. Well, actually, I thought you meant lethal as in a sort of, those toys were lethal, man. They were lethal, like, children died, yeah. Children died at the hands of the Sparkabots. So I'm bringing them back. So yeah, that's it. I can't think if there's anything else. There's a really big bad villain who you guys haven't seen before in Transformers comics, and it's Voldemort. Yes, the Fire Commons. Yeah, that's kind of it really. There's one of the original 3 human characters from the start of the IDW run. One of them is in it. I'm not going to say who, but there's a chance it's not one of them. So yeah, it's just like a dangling corpse for 3 issues, just like, dragging him along and stuff like, why won't Hunter wake up? Why won't Hunter wake up? So yeah, so that's about all of it. If there's any specific questions at some stage, I'll try and answer them, but I think you know the drill at this stage, so no, I can't tell you yet. You know, the usual comic book nonsense, but I can't tell you yet, so there you go.
This is another one for specifically just the artists, I suppose. Just watching the screen that's going on behind you. Obviously, one thing that's very apparent is that every Transformer looks different. Some have got guns, some have got wings, all of that stuff. If you've got a panel, which was basically Starscream and Thundercracker embrace, you know, is there sort of characters where your artistic integrity will not allow you to do something because, you know, a hand would have to go through, I don't know if I'm making any sense whatsoever, but
I can answer that.
You know, just...
Want to?
I can answer that. There is no such thing as artistic integrity. You do whatever you do to get the job done. Silhouettes, out of panel, whatever. If the deadline comes, you get the job done, and it comes down to that. And I don't know if I can speak for everybody, but I think if most of them were honest, I'd say the same too.
do you kind of mean like sort of cheap
well,
and spatial kind of?
Well, just to give you an example, there's a panel that Pat Lee did.
What are you saying about artistic integrity?
We've got all day, start.
There's a panel in, I think it's the second series of Dreamwave, where Starscream grabs Soundwave by the neck behind him. But just by the way the panel's phrased and the way Soundwave's built, Starscream's arm is literally going through him. Just because you can't sort of get that motion. It's not like Spider-Man and Mary Jane hugging. It's fairly straightforward.
Yeah, I think following on. I mean, I don't know how the rest of the guys work. I tend to rough out the whole issue, and then I tend to draw from page 1 all the way through. And what sometimes happens is, like, it's weird, even though the action of drawing is always the same for every panel, sometimes if you're drawing something like really cool, like Prime kind of transforming, doing some heroics prose, I will unintentionally always spend longer doing that because I just get really into it, and then towards the end you'll be like, oh, I was going to do this really cool thing on the last page, but I've now got like an hour to get this done. And sometimes you do just have to change things, because ultimately, I mean, I almost always slip deadlines anyway. I'm always a little bit late because I always want to try and do the best job, but sometimes you'll get to a panel and you look back on it and you're like, that isn't quite right, but you just don't have the time to go back and change it. And it's really annoying. There's loads of stuff I'll look at and I'll be like, oh, that really bugs me, because I can see how it should be, but I just didn't quite have the time to fix it.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty easy to sort of like pick Pat Lee apart, so I'll give it a go. I don't know. The sort of thing I've done that kind of similar to that is, like, say with characters like, say, Starscream, or even like the Dinobots, where they have kind of like wing components, and kind of you've got like a really cool pose where your character's arms are kind of like flayed back, but you know that they couldn't really do that because it would bump into their wings, but you kind of draw it anyway because it makes the character look cool. You just try and imagine the wings are set back a little bit further. So, but I like to think that, you know, I don't let anything completely horrendous slip. You know, I mean, there's like deadlines, and you do cheat a little bit, kind of, especially with Transformers. Like when they fold their arms and stuff like that, it's a really hard thing to kind of pull off, and I try and avoid it if I can. But you know, you're going to try and cheat a little bit there. So I think as long as it kind of looks good to the sort of on first glance, you know, I think second glance, third glance, maybe you're going to notice things. But you know, stuff like that, like you say, you kind of notice straight away. If you can avoid that, I think you're kind of doing okay. I think. Sorry, we're just all confessing to our problems. Yeah.
I think that's why Transformers shouldn't hug. Yeah, they shouldn't hug, really. You know. They shouldn't wrestle either. They just punch each other like that. You know? Yeah, and that's why they got guns on their arm, basically. But I think what Pat Lee should have done was come to a convention and just got two people in cosplay and got them to... what can it actually achieve in costume?
So I grew up with the same stuff, so yeah, Galvatron Dead or Alive. Target 2006 was like one of the best things I've ever. Particularly my actual favourite comic is The Chase with Ultra Magnus and Galvatron. And I can remember being about 8 or 9 when I first read that, and because it ends with like the flames and you can't see who's actually survived, and because it wasn't Ultra Magnus, it was actually Galvatron, I thought that was like amazing, like the best thing ever. Was that Simon Furber's? Was that? Oh yeah. It was cool, and also I was a massive Jeff Senior fan, so pretty much everything that he drew, I just thought was like fantastic, basically.
Yeah, that's just the same answer as the guys. I think. I mean, Target 2006 is kind of. I don't know, it's kind of unbeatable in some ways, which is kind of a shame. It's like a diss on Simon, but you know, I think whatever catches you at that right time. That was my first exposure to Transformers comics, and I just love those characters. The 1986 characters are kind of my favourites. So Target 2006 is pretty good, but then, you know, stuff like Beast Wars is pretty incredible as well, and especially when they started really kind of tying it home to G1 and, you know, Megatron aboard the Ark and Megatron and Ravage showing up and stuff, you know, and that was pretty cool too. It was, yeah, it was incredible.
And also, I think when we were reading comics when we were younger, because you didn't have the internet. Like now, the internet's great, you can look up everything and find out exactly who does what. Back then, you had to wait a week to find out who the hell that character was at the end, which was, you know, which I think made it also really cooler as well, because you literally did not know unless you got the next comic.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the other thing I was going to say was, draw a blank, because I'm not deleting, it's not important now.
Pretty much everything these guys said, but also the World War II G.I. Joe versus Transformers crossover. I mean,
Oh bruh.
Yeah, the Jay Lee one, just the style on it, cause especially with the Dreamwave eras, the contrast of styles is so fresh and just such a different take on it. Brilliant. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I think the same as these guys were saying, and it was 2006 for me, it was because of all the new characters that were introduced. Then you've got the fact of the records being introduced, and so much happened so quickly, and it was gripping. And I think it's what John was saying, it was the fact that it was a weekly comic book, and you couldn't wait to get that issue, or it'd be saved at your newsagents and put through your door. And that's what made it work, and made it exciting, and I think that's where a lot of the comics are falling down now, especially the UK stuff, where it's once a month. The excitement has died down. You've got to wait 3 weeks, you kind of lose the interest. And I think if they, not necessarily weekly, but did a fortnightly comic book, they could probably get that sort of excitement and that market back. I think that's what worked for me, basically.
2006 time was, although I would like to see a return for Circuit Breaker.
Really? Talk a bit more about that. About your awakening to Circuit Breaker?
I don't know, that was the story I started reading. That just kind of like got me into it, so I've got a lot of fond memories of that kind of era of the comic.
Nothing to do with a lady wearing only tinfoil, no?
Tinfoil, nothing like that. Solar powered.
I think for me, it developed, like I say, Target 2006 was just like the story that just broke all the boundaries. And there's not all the little moments in it. There's a splash page where Galvatron thinks he's won, and Magnus shows up at the end and says, "No, I'll stop you." And that was just awesome at the time. You just read that and you go, "Ha!" So that's obviously a really good story. I love a lot of the more recent stuff as well. With Devastation, I know a lot of people complain about the pacing and the plotting of that being all splintered, but I really enjoyed that. And I love the way they kind of just took concepts and turned them on their head, like Sunstreaker being a headmaster. They'd never have thought of that before, and then they just took that and ran with it. A much better explanation for all the kind of gimmicks and the pretender shells and the headmaster process and stuff.
I was going to say, I really like IDW, but I don't want to become like Billy IDW pants over here, you know, so it's like, IDW. But I think it's like, because it was like a planned universe, I think.
Yeah, it was planned.
You know, and it's, especially the earlier days or whatever, you know, because it's kind of gone a few different directions now, but it's probably one of my favourite versions of Transformers there's been, so yeah.
Yeah. And escalation as well. I love the fight in, is it Brasnia, between Megatron and Prime's fighting in snow. It's just a really good, just no-holds barred fight between Megatron and Prime, and that was a really good kind of focus for that story. So I like the recent stuff. Tone the company line. Oh, and Target 2006 as well. That's fantastic.
I don't know if how many of you guys actually remember when the Marvel UK comics, you know, reading them at the time. I don't know if you guys agree with me, but when Optimus Prime got killed off, at the time, in the video game. Now, I knew that the UK and the American editorial teams are different, but I didn't realise at the time that the UK stuff was essentially fill-ins. Every time they put a hint at a character will be returning an issue, how many of you guys were thinking, oh, Optimus Prime, and then all of a sudden, oh, it's Unicron, oh, that's cool. And, you know, I don't know if you guys remember all that stuff, but there's no fun elements like that kind of thing at the moment.
Like it.
Sorry. So we're just reminiscing about old UK storylines. Yeah, you know, Enter the Void, didn't he? Also, another story that's really cool was when Megatron was like in a sewer and he all went like had only half his face and went mad. G.I. Joe turned that was brilliant as well. That was so
Guys, any other questions for the panels?
I've got one.
What's been your favourite project to work on in terms of fun? Because I know doing 22 pages was a bit of a drag, but what's been the thing that you've had most enjoyment out of?
For me, doing the relaunch of the Titan stuff because it's with Simon Vernon, which, you know, the 8-year-old in me is like perpetually excited every time the script comes through. And it's been a slower story as well, because he's kind of written a year-long arc, so there's time to kind of develop the characters, and that's been really, really good fun. And there's little filmic nods, like issue 2, there was a big North by Northwest theme, and, you know, I've really, really enjoyed it, so that's been, Transformers-wise, definitely the most fun I've had.
I was going to say Shockwave because it was my first kind of time on it as well, but I was so nervous and so stressed the whole time doing it that I don't really remember much about it, and I just remember getting stage fright every time I had to like put pencil onto the paper and thinking, oh god, you know, and is this any good? And you know, I've kind of forgotten about it a little bit now, but I think Massive Dinobots was good fun because it was like, you know, being Simon and the Dinobots, you know, as I've always hoped it would be. I kind of hope Wreckers is going to be just because of who I'm going to get to work with on it, like just create a team and stuff like that. So it's my chance to write and draw Transformers, you know, a series. So I hope that's going to be good. But yeah, I guess Dinobots will probably be it for me.
Being very hot rod, just about I'm a massive mark for him, and it's like my debut. It's like you actually get to the point where you're doing this stuff. Like I'm a massive fan. Like we're all just massive fan boys and fan girl, and getting paid to it is like, and yeah, just been like doing the Dinobot covers just because I'm a Dinobot mark. Like hell yes.
Okay, cheap plug time. My favourite Transformers related project, any project that I've worked on, is my Incredible Hulk and Death's Head comic, which is available here, right here in Autumn Assembly, Birmingham, 2009. It's £5 per copy, and while stocks last, you get a free Bumblebee and Spider-Man print. You can get one at my table, right at the back.
When can I get one?
You can get one right now! After this! No, okay, or, you know, please buy a copy. But Transformers related, my favourite project that I did work on, in all seriousness, was my first ever comic strip, which was in Transformers Armada issue 9. It was just the thrill of, I got to draw some good Prime, Optimus Prime panels, and it was written by Simon Furman, who, you know, I just turned into a fanboy whenever I meet the guy. You know, he was just such a favourite of mine, and yeah, I would say today that is my favourite Transformers related personal work.
Because I've had so much experience. It's TFA, obviously. In particular, I love colouring your covers. That's it.
My favourite Transformers related work was when I did 2 stories back to back in 2 totally different styles. I did Transformers Titan issue 23 and got the script, read it, and just thought, well, I'm going to add loads of stuff in this. So there was a scene where there was a cross here, and I just thought, well, I'm going to stick Optimus Prime in there. And then there was some other thing about a carrier, I stuck Ultra Magnus, put the arc in. Basically, there's about 6 or 7 different homages all the way through, which was fun. And then straight off that, I got to draw TFA 5, which was Killing Afterburn. And John was a bit disappointed because I got to kill his character that he created, but I enjoyed it. That's it.
I think the most fun I've had is just doing the handful of covers for the Titan so far, and I hope I get more. But yeah, it's just being able to get out of the shackles of colouring, be able to just do some line art and colouring at the same time. But on top of that, and I'm not just saying this for, you know, laughs, but I actually really think like a con like this is just great, you know, and fun to be able to talk with you guys, and you know, you the people who keep this thing going. And Transformers has been rebooted so many times over so many years now, and you know,
fans that have kept it alive.
Fans have kept it alive, and it's just awesome fun to come to something like this and just talk to you guys and see what you think about the new movie or the new comics or whatever. It's great.
I
I really got pretty fond memories for the Titan UK Scorpion sting where Ironhide in the movie Ironhide goes after Scorponok in the desert. So I remember I was colouring that issue and it was about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Spence Johnson artwork, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning and I was just really tired. I'd work the next day and I was trying to get this page done. And I was kind of lagging a bit. And then I just remembered and I just thought, well, Simon Furman's written this, Stas Johnson's drawn this, and now I'm colouring it. And I just had such a feel-good moment because I used to idolise these guys, until I met them. I used to idolise these guys when I was a kid. And all of a sudden I was there now just working on their stuff, so that was a really good story for me. But more recently, there's another thing I'm really happy with that isn't out yet, is All Hail Megatron 15, which has got Nick's cut prowl type story shenanigans. But it was great fun to read that because it just explains the cigar, and that was good to get that explanation. Oh, well, I don't know how many people here have read All Hail Megatron, the full thing, but in that cup's got a metal cigar to kind of make him look like Hannibal from the A-Team, which is really cool looking, but there's no real reason to have
smoking a cigar.
I was told, the first pages I sent back to IDW, I had the cigar in there, and I thought, oh cool, let's put a nice little glow on the end, like an end glow. And they came back and they were like, no! You stop that right there. They had the glows taken off that, everything. You can have the cigar in his mouth, but it can never be lit.
It's like, well, that's it. In the Marvel comics, even the adult Marvel comics, Joe Quesada has actually stated no characters were allowed to smoke, to be shown smoking in comics.
Nick Fury with a nicotine patch.
You've got a children's, Transformers based on a children's comic line, and they've added the cigar thing. So.
Okay, I've got a quick question for you guys. Sorry, you've all obviously mentioned like deadlines. And basically getting things done by a certain period or to a certain style. What do you guys do to relax and unwind?
Relax and unwind. Get over it.
I drink heavily. Sorry. These bloody microphones keep going on and off. Now it's on. I think when you've got deadlines and you work, I don't think you do relax. I think you go out on a Friday night, you find about a 3-hour schedule and you get very drunk, and then the next morning it's back at the computer screen and you're getting problems in your back and you're becoming disabled while you're sitting there. It's ridiculous. I think if you've got constant work, you don't turn it down. With comics, especially if you're freelance, you don't turn down any work, because you turn down one job, it can lead to a run of no work, because one thing feeds into another. So I can speak for myself. I don't know how much these other guys do, but it's not easy to relax, I think, in comics, personally.
I find it hard to relax. If I know that I've got work that needs doing in the background, I need to get it done. I can't think, I do procrastinate a bit, I think, do it in an hour or so, but I do tend to try and get it done. It's like you say, you can't afford to turn work away either,
So, you kind of relax at the same time, right? You can get like things on in the background.
Yeah, right. When I'm drawing, I've got like films on in the background and or listen to music and all that. So it's a dream job. What can I say?
We work far more than we should. But one of my favourite things that we do at the moment is just playing a bit of PlayStation before bed. We're currently playing Dead Space. Just killing a few aliens before you go to bed. It's like it clears all the comics right out of your head. You just go to bed. Sweet dreams then. That's one of my current favourites.
Yeah, for me it's genocide. I just like wiping out whole countries. It's the only way to get rid of the deadline blues, to be honest. And dinosaurs, hang on to the dinosaurs, yeah. Yeah, it's hard to unwind. I'm kind of all or nothing with everything. So when I'm working, I'm always working and there's no room for anything else. And because I know that if I took time off to relax, I'd be all or nothing about relaxing as well. And I'd be all or nothing about playing Guitar Hero. And I'd be all or nothing about playing my Wii and stuff. So yeah, it's hard. But you make the time, I guess, if you can.
I like to read a lot. Well, I say read like it sounds really intellectual. I read Retro Gamer, so I've subscribed to that. I like to read that in the spare time. Or occasionally, because I do a lot of colouring, I relax by actually drawing, which is kind of like a backwards way to do it. So I'm mad.
By colouring. Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy what I do, so I'm a bit lucky, and I have a setup where I have one screen that I ink on. Like, I do my pencils freehand, then I scan in, and I ink on one screen, and then on the other screen I basically have 4OD or iPlayer on. Like I just spent last week, I watched every episode of The Peep Show. So, I mean, drawing comics is ace. And then after that, I used to be a big sort of, because I worked in the games industry, so I used to play games loads. I was addicted to Call of Duty, but I've just had a little son, so now I just go and like play with him, which it just involves him bashing different things at the moment. But yes, that's it. But yeah, drawing comics is weird. It takes up all your time. Yeah, you know, it's still really, really good fun. So it's wicked. Yeah, it's cool. So almost like your job becomes what you do to relax.
This is going to sound horribly wussy, but even like coming to something like this makes kind of the deadline blues worthwhile. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I'm sure lots are going to be maybe behind their work for coming here, or you know, we've had a hard time, you know, getting stuff done. But when you're kind of here, and you know, people are coming up and saying nice things to you, and you know, you're making new friends and stuff, and you wouldn't be here if you weren't working. So you know, it's really nice. It's great.
I think it's also a little bit both of what Nick and John were both saying. Things like this are actually quite fun because you get to meet people that are fans of the stuff and also fellow artists and get to have a chat and relax. And it's actually a good part of the job. I do enjoy this, whether it's a Bristol Con or a memorabilia or a show like this. Same as John, my best relaxing is when I go and play with my daughter, because you can't help but smile when you, sounds really cheesy, when you got a kid that's by you, it's wicked. And that's probably my most relaxing thing, other than occasionally going out and getting drunk with my friends and rolling in and getting in trouble because I'm knocking the door late.
It's really bad when you get drunk with your daughter, though. I mean, that's
No, I know, but I've got like a basket that I can put her in, so it's not really a problem.
Do you ever put her in the tumble dryer by accident?
No, she climbs in by herself.
Oh, okay,
but,
that's right. It's her fault then.
Yeah. I accept no responsibility whatsoever.
You've installed a slide, haven't you?
Jason's just being silly. Yeah, it's like Kat said, at least she's clean.
Right guys, I think we've got time for one more question because I know Nick, you've got something planned for 2 o'clock. Guys, is there any other questions from the guys sitting down? Yeah, okay.
What new Transformer comic stuff would you like to do?
God, that's really hard. I'd love to do Batman at some point. A really good friend of mine is just about to do the Batgirl, the relaunch to that. So he's sending me loads of pages, and he's just about to do an issue with Batman in the Swine. And so I'd love to do Batman. Aside from that, I mean, any like Batman, Spider-Man, because I grew up as well as Transformers. You know, I grew up with all the Marvel and DC imprints, and I'm a massive superhero fan. So anything like that, basically. To be honest with you, I'm pretty happy drawing absolutely anything, as long as it's not anything with lots of talking. I would like to have drawn something like Preacher, although I'd love to read it. I couldn't draw. It's got to be involve some sort of fighting of some kind. I'm quite easily pleased, really.
Yeah, I think like most comic artists kind of want to kind of take off the holy rails off, you know, and that's kind of like Batman. I'd really love to do a Spider-Man or an Ultimate Spider-Man or something like that. I think it's really, I'd love to do it. Whether they think I'm suited or not, I'd love to do it. I'm gonna have to have it. But I find that I'm kind of like really drawn to like just like 1980s properties, like not comics at all. So I think I'd like to draw like a Gun Turtles. I'd like to do Ghostbusters, you know, I think that would be great, you know, or, you know, any of these things. I'd love to do like Thundercats or something, you know, it's ridiculous. These aren't real comics, but then I guess neither are Transformers, I suppose, you know, so it's kind of, so yeah, but I think I'd like to get into creator-owned stuff. I think I'd like to sort of, at this stage, because I've been in Transformers, I've been in for a few years, And even though I haven't really done much else, I'm almost at a stage where I'm not that much interested in drawing other people's stuff anymore. It'd be nice to kind of come up with my own thing and kind of, you know, make a bit of money for myself as well instead of for Hasbro, you know. So, it'd be nice. So, yeah, Spider-Man.
Deadpool, or just anything really I can experiment on. I'd like to do certainly Punisher or the two-band AD sort of stuff, Judge Dredd, or just Tank Girl, Metal Gear Solid book, you know, a couple years back. It's something where you can just take it and push yourself as an artist, go down and do whatever you do, something you've never done before. Like, because I mean, I know I've had before that I've got some things where I've just got a look where I stick to a style. I just love to completely just break the mold of what I can do as an artist.
I think you'd be ideal for Deadpool, man. I mean, you are Deadpool. Okay. Okay. Well, ever since I could read. Oh, shut up. Ever since I. Sorry, I do apologise. We'll be back for a midnight show. Ever since I could read, I've wanted to draw the Incredible Hulk, and that is my ultimate ambition, is to be the regular artist on Marvel US's Incredible Hulk comic. I would also love to, if they did a Dead Set comic, I would love to be artist on that or involved. Yeah. Hey, we're putting it together, man. Yeah. He's bigger than me. Non-type, you know, what you were saying about non-comic, non-original comic created characters. I'd love to draw Masters of the Universe. I'd love to draw that. I think, you know, some great characters and all that. Draw it in the classic kind of Marvel style, which you know, is my thing. I'd love to work on that.
You can trust me to come up with something completely different now, but I'm actually working on one of my dream jobs at the moment, and it's completely different to any of the stuff that everyone else has already mentioned. But Jason and I are currently working on a graphic novel of William Shakespeare's play A Midsummer Night's Dream. I know, like proper highbrow stuff. It sounds boring, but in comparison to giant robots blowing each other up, but that's been one of my favourite plays ever since I read it, and I love that stuff. It's got fairies and a man with a donkey's head, you know, that's brilliant. So I'm really loving that. But aside from that, yeah, create our own stuff. I'd love to get a chance to just draw my own comic and make my own nonsense up and draw lots of cute cartoons and stuff. It'd be brilliant.
I'm currently working on the 99 alongside John McCreel. We both basically pencil it together. I do rough layouts, some of the finishes. John goes on board and does his thing, then he goes off to another inker in the States. That's very superhero orientated. It's basically a Muslim comic book, but they've all got jewels which give them powers. It's basically an excuse to do superheroes. Yeah, they're doing Endemol are making a cartoon series, and there's 6 theme parks that are being opened about the 99 Village. The first one's been opened, I'm just hoping for my free ticket, like. Sorry? No, he's not. I'm working on that at the moment. My dream project, I'd love to work on Superman. Superman 2, first film I ever saw at the cinema, and I loved it. And that's the character, that's my dream job, basically.
What non-Transformers thing would I like to do? Yeah, it's kind of a strange one because I'm actually working on a project right now that I'm completely creating, writing. I'd love to draw and colour and everything, and it's this sci-fi post-apocalyptic story, and it's getting me quite excited. The ideas involved. It's kind of a cross between like Jekyll and Hyde, mixed with Transformers, mixed with the Ghost of the Shell anime, mixed with like James Cameron's vision of the future, and it's just all these things, and I'm piecing it together.
Have you taken out the Coronation Street aspect?
Not yet, I've replaced the standards.
Oh, right.
And
so everyone whispers.
Right. I'm piecing this thing together at the moment, and I'm trying to write a script for it, and hopefully put some samples together and pitch it out sometime next year, and hopefully something will come of it. And yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to do.
non-Transformer stuff. I've been lucky enough to work on like Doctor Who, so that was a big thing for me to get to do that. I don't buy comics. I don't read comics, so I don't really much care about comics. I mean, I'm in the wrong industry really. But I would love to work on some like the more kind of TV franchises. I'd love to do a Red Dwarf comic. I think that would be fantastic if it's done right. I'd also like to see some other stuff, like Nick mentioned, stuff like Mask or Thundercats, those kind of things. Not real comics, but that's the only stuff that I kind of know. I wouldn't mind doing well, it would kind of fly in the face of the original, but I would like to kind of do a comic book continuation of Quantum Leap as well, and see how that would go. But that would be a bit heresy though, so you know. But yeah, that's what I'd have to do. I mean, Doctor Who, which I've already done, so that's that goal achieved.
Thank you very much, guys. I'm afraid that's all the time we've got now. So, guys, give a big round of applause to the audience here. Thank you very much. Don't forget Simon's comic is at his table over there.
Thank you. Can I also say one thing? I just want to say thank you to Simon Plum, and Martin, and all the guys who have done such a fantastic job here. You know, putting on such a great event. Big round of applause to those guys. Cheers, man.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click on the like button and leave us a comment below. Also, spare a moment to share this video on Twitter, Facebook, and all your social media pages. To get updates on all of our latest videos delivered straight to your inbox, subscribe now using the link on the screen.